Yeah, one of these. What is this, about a 1960 Philco barber pole? And I must be lit AF because I'm really swerving out of my lane on this one. Sort of interesting, the vintage TV restore community thing is sort of changing a little bit with, of course, Jordan Peer relocating, and I guess Bob Anderson's going to be focusing a bit more on his own personal collection. I've been getting a lot of messages from people that want me to take a look at these things. And my thing is, these need to be fully restored, like a chassis frame off restoration or whatever they call that. These things kind of need all the capacitors, all the tube sockets, all the resistors, the couplets, tube sockets. These things are not known for the highest quality parts being used at them, but they can be upgraded really easily, and well, not easily. They can be upgraded with a lot of love and time consumption, and I just don't have a bunch of time to pour into doing full restorations on these. But what we're going to do is we're going to try and get this to work. We're going to do an analysis on it and see what it's going to take. I think if the CRT is stone dead, we'll probably just hang it up, because they're really hard to obtain, and I'm not in the loop on these sets like some of the guys that just specialize in these, because this is probably, the Predicta line is probably the most popular sought after line of vintage TVs in the world. '21 SFA. 21 SFA 4. These are all, I should have mentioned, these are also very difficult and time consuming to work on because of the way the circuit boards are staked in and wire wrapped, and it's just the production method was not service friendly. Okay, we're at about 2 point something volts there. On the low side, and I do see it glowing here, so that's a good start. Okay, shorts. No, shorts. There's a little leakage on G1. Okay, cutoff. Emissions. I am a little bit low there. And it doesn't give you any... You really don't have much of a choice there. Wow, there's some HK. Look at that as it heats up. We're getting heater to the cathode leakage. The emissions have come up, but the heater to cathode leakage, that's a little bit concerning. That's not good, because that'll... I mean, they don't consider that a short. Up here is shorted. That's good. But any leakage heater to cathode will dump your video off into the filament, and you'll get a hum a hum from the filament voltage into the video. So that's a little bit concerning. And we do have some showing up G1 short. Is this thing gassy? You kind of have your choice of there or there. You can't achieve in the middle of that. Just sort of a bummer. And yeah, when you go to the lower voltage, the heater cathode short goes away. But so do a lot of the emissions. Again, you're not going to rejuvenate this. Let's assume that it's the lower voltage filament, and it was starting to leak heater to cathode because the thing was expanding too much, because I was at 2.68 versus 2.35. Let's assume the emissions are pitiful. It's in the bad. And let's take a look at it and see what the minimum to get it to work is. And let's get it to work and see how it works. It's probably not going to be great, especially in a bright room. Go right in there to the egg sac, because that's the most important part of the repair right there, the egg sac. Anyway, what this is it's basically just the tabletop Philco Predicta chassis jammed, kind of weirdly jammed in this wood thing. Looks all original. Someone's hand pencil written the tube numbers on here. This is not like a low hour virgin-y thingy. Where is the high voltage lead? Is it this? No, that's this. It's this right here. Okay, so that's the high voltage lead. So I was chatting with Bob Anderson about this, one of the master gurus of these sets. Has restored a whole bunch of them successfully for other people and for himself. And I believe he suggested replacing that. Of course, these bumblebees. And the problem with this is you can't get to the bottom of this circuit board. It's on a metal chassis. So in order to desolder any parts from this board, you have to pull this thing off, and you have all these wire wrapped connections. And look at the couplets here. There's 3 of them, and of course the components drift in those. There's another one right there. They're just made with really poor quality components in them that drift and become intermittent, and the thing's unstable. Besides, they're right in a circle around this tube, so all the infrared radiation from the filament just bakes them from the outside in. Okay, well, I think what we should do is dim bulb this and just see what it does. We're not going to hurt it. I believe this resistor too here was on the replace list, and it's already coming apart. So we do have some electrolytics here, and I believe there's a thermistor in here, okay, right there, which is broken. It's broken. It's broken. This is basically an inrush current limiter, and I did get the number from Bob of the one he uses, which is it's a 200 ohm cold. So this is like 200 ohms cold, and as it heats up it drops down to 4 ohms. It just gives the tubes everything a soft start. They call them inrush current limiters. They actually still make them. Is that a 6BN6? Is that what that is? I don't even want to pull it out. Does it use one of those for the audio detector? Wow, it is. It's a 3BN6. I recognize that. The plate's in there. That's what Zenith. That's Zenith's sound demodulation tube that is the Buzz-O-Matic detector. Maybe these Philcos don't do it, but Zenith used that tube forever, and they used the later version was a Z10, 6Z10 or 6J10, which had that tube and the audio output combined in it. This thing is measuring 430 ohms cold. This resistor here is very, very bad. It actually looks like it's 1, 2, 3 resistors. And all the leads are green. You can see all the green fuzz there. And it's split. I hope it's still good enough to do some testing here. I'm going to power this up. I'm going to use a dim bulb as a current limiter. I'm going to bypass the thermistor. And I can actually see that's been replaced before. So that this might not be the right one. I want to resurrect this thing. I want to see this work before I commit to ordering any parts for it. So there we go. That's a 25 watt bulb. A 25 watt bulb. The light bulb acts as a thermistor, so that's why I can get away with just bypassing the thermistor. What happens if I disconnect that? Let me see. Oh, it goes down to nothing. Oh, look at that. So the thermistor must just be for the tube filaments. Because look at the capacitor's up at 245 volts now. No reforming needed, huh? I wonder if someone was plugging it in. So the thermistor must just be for the filaments. So we don't have shorted capacitors. That's a good thing. Let's see what we got here. 281. If I could get a bite on these corroded. 282. See what I got on this one. 283. 283. Interesting. So I don't need to reform the caps. I got a feeling the owner probably plugged it in and this was open and it didn't do anything, but it did a brute force reform of the capacitors. Lucky it didn't blow that little fusible resistor thing open. Where is that little thing? Little asbestos thing right there. And the capacitors are holding a charge too. Hell with it, I'm going straight up to a 150 watt bulb here. Got the thermistor bypassed. Tubes are glowing. Here we go, ready to ride it raw. Where's brightness? Oh, look. Wow. Who's yelling, "Don't burn the screen"? Don't burn the screen. You got no vertical deflection. Don't burn the screen. It's so damn dim. Okay, I'm back on the light bulb here. Let's go through and check these voltages on the resistor and just make sure there's something that's not open. I believe this is for the filaments, and it's burning hot. So on that pin we got 45 VAC. On the next pin, it's hard to get we got 52. These leads are so crusty. On the next lead we got 60. On the next lead we got 69. So that resistor, even though it looks like that, is not open yet. This is the vertical. Ow, damn, that's hot. 10 DE7. Well, yeah, it's hot because it's not oscillating. It's not working. So I'm going to move that around and see if it starts to work. Where did... Do I hear the... I hear something going, and we don't have our line anymore here. Okay, this is kind of terrifying. Where did our image go? Don't try this at home, kids. Nothing there. Bypass the light bulb. Well, ooh, that stinks. So this is AC on this side. This is DC on this side. See the difference? So there's high voltage. Why'd we lose the video, the line, unless the vertical started working? Sure is emitting an interesting smell. What did I just crack? I just cracked that tube. It is so hot. Look at it going. Watch it going to air. That was brilliant. Ooh, see it burning up inside? That was brilliant. So what happens is the vertical is not working. So the tube just sits there and conducts and conducts and overheats. And I can't get this thing out of the socket. I mean, it is just stuck in there. This has been a rough start, really riding the short bus on this one. I don't know if I really care about that right now. I might just leave that like that. Since it's a series string set, as long as those filaments don't go open, the resistance will just stay super low and it won't do anything. So I want to see if we could get that line back. Why did I lose the line? I got high voltage. Well, the capacitors don't, the electrolytics don't seem to be any kind of problem here. They didn't need any reforming and they're not getting warm at all, and I don't hear any hum. But we got a bunch of other problems. Now what I'm worried about is investing any money in parts for this thing and having the CRT actually be so dead that it's unusable. So I want to resurrect it. I want to see it work. And obviously the vertical's not running. Now that could be a whole bunch of different things why the vertical oscillator wouldn't run. It could certainly be one of those bumblebee capacitors. It could be one of the couplets. I need to get the schematic and a new tube. Let me go find a new tube. And then we need to get the line back and then get the vertical to run. So here's the tin DE7, the one that I cracked and broke because it was probably red plating and we just couldn't see it. That 0.1 right there, if that was shorted, that would definitely cause that thing to just turn on and conduct and pull just a ton of current through it. Or if there was another capacitor, see it's got a couplet here. If that 0015 was shorted, I'm betting that 0.1 is shorted. But let's look up here. So we want to look at the voltage on the cathode, which should be a yellow wire, and it should connect to the brightness control. If that was shorted, if that 047 was shorted, it would definitely dump the plate voltage right onto the cathode of the CRT and turn it off. The lower the voltage is on pin 7, the cathode, the brighter it will be. So we want to check this voltage right here. Let's see. Is that this wire that's taped? It very well could be. No, there's a 220 and an 047. That looks like the 047, and that looks like the 220, so this does indeed look like the wire to the cathode. And if that, well, I don't know, let's measure that voltage. Well, I have 37 volts there. If I adjust the brightness, I'm turning the brightness down. That certainly does not seem excessive. And we have the line back again. So I wonder what happened. Well, let's take the opportunity to check the voltages on this, since the tube is effectively deleted. See, on this side of the capacitor we have 57 volts. On this side of the capacitor we have 103, so that capacitor is definitely leaking, right? Maybe, maybe not. Well, this should have negative 4.5 volts on it. It comes up to a 1.8 meg. Do I see a 1.8 meg here? Well, I do right there. And we have negative 9 volts on that side of it. And on this side we have 60 volts. So that capacitor is highly leaky. That could have been the whole problem with this tube. Let's see if the line is still there. It is. This is the most stuck tube I think I've ever dealt with, and I'm afraid I'm going to break the board if I keep ratcheting on it. So let me try, and I'm going to change this capacitor. We're going to see if we can get the vertical oscillator up and running and resurrect this thing. I really want to see what the quality of the picture is with this CRT before I make a decision to order a bunch of parts. Man, that thing was in there. Alright, I'm going to change this 0.01. I'm just going to cut it off from the top, sand the leads, and solder something on there. Alright, I changed that capacitor, and there's no more leakage. I put a replacement tube in there, and if I turn the vertical hold control, we need to get this vertical to run. Yeah, that line is so dim, even with the brightness all the way up, that I gotta see an image on this before I say let's do it. I need to see the condition of that tube. These are actually double pots. So what you do to adjust the vertical size and stuff is you pull this off and go down through it with a screwdriver. But since I can get to it from the back, I'm gonna try and... Boy, that tube is so microphonic. I'm going to try and turn it from here. And we'll see if maybe it's just a dead spot in the pot. Oh, there it goes. Okay, there it goes. And see, now that it's spread out, it's so dark you can't see it. So what I need to do is I need to spray those pots, which are not easy to get to. Let me figure that out. I almost need to take this off, but you can't really get to it. Well, the vertical is running at 14 hertz. That's pretty good. What are we at now? 28? And it's like dying. Its oscillator's dying. It's still hot. Wow! Nothing like that other one. Measuring the high voltage, we're at 15 kilovolts. So that's more than enough. Well, I have 477 down here. I'm checking these voltages right on the back of the CRT, because it seems like when you turn it on it's a little brighter, and then as it runs it gets dimmer. And the high voltage is right on, and it does not drop as it runs. So I'm checking this 420 and the 35. Of course, the lower the 35 is, the brighter it is. So this is supposed to be the 420, and it's measuring 470. This is supposed to be the 35, and it's a little bit high. In fact, it seems to be getting higher the more it runs. And I have a feeling that's that leaky capacitor. I have a feeling that is this capacitor right here. Maybe what I'll do is just cut that damn thing right out of there. That is this one right here. Let's see if that did anything for it. Oh, it's ever so microscopically brighter. So that would kill the video. There'd be no AC video signal. So let's see what that did here. Pretty damn leaky, from 35 down to 7. Yeah, that capacitor is super leaky. All of these Bumblebee things are really leaky in this set. But that really doesn't matter. You know, if we have the right DC voltages on that CRT and it's still so dim you can barely see it, it's not worth restoring the set. I mean, we know the thing is tired. I mean, it is really dark out here. This thing is really, really weak. You know, some CRTs can check weak and then still be usable, but I don't think that's the case here. I'm trying to see if I could get this thing to pass a signal. Yeah, I know I got the video coupling capacitor out of there, but... or if I should clean this tuner. Okay, I got a capacitor there now. Okay, we don't need color bars, do we? Okay, I know this is not going to look like much, but that's window circle. And yeah, I can't stop it from rolling because there are other capacitors in the vertical circuit that are bad, that are keeping me from adjusting the frequency where I need. But I will say this, it is so dark it's almost unusable. It's so dark it's like unusable. I mean, you have to look beyond the sync issue. You know, if this was a good CRT, this would be blindingly bright with the same, but you could just barely see it. And it's not bright here at all. This is at dusk, and it's just not bright. Okay, again, look past the rolling. This is the staircase. This should be from bright white to black. And That's the contrast all the way down. That's the contrast all the way up. So this CRT is just garbage. If I could get that vertical to quit rolling. A quick summary of where we're at right now. The thermistor was bad. All the paper capacitors, Black Beauty, Bumblebees, they're all really bad. They're all really leaky. The electrolytics seem to be good. It is passing a signal. The CRT appears to be very weak. I can't get it to sync right now, probably because of the rest of the bad paper capacitors, or possibly the couplets are bad. It might have a bad pot right here. This adjustment pot might be bad because when I turn it, I hit a point where the vertical just completely stops. I just completely lose all vertical deflection, like it just flatlines. See, I just turn it a little bit and it just flatlines. So that's, you know, I'm turning it quite a bit there, and so this pot might be bad. This resistor is working, but it needs to be changed. Of course, the thermistor needs to be changed. About the best thing in this thing seems to be the electrolytics. So our voltages look good, our high voltage looks good, our B+, our boost all look good. So all of that seems there. It is passing a signal, but my main concern is how weak this is. And when you get a weak black and white CRT, the faces and highlights become cloudy and just blown out looking. When you don't have any cutoff and you have really weak emissions like this. So no matter what you do, like it's dark out here, darker than most dimly lit rooms. And I know it seems really bright, but that's, you know, just the gain on the camera. I spoke to the owner and he'd like to at least get the deflection working and stable. Even if it's very dim and he can only watch it occasionally in a very dark room. These CRTs are very scarce and very valuable and sought after, and there's other 21-inch tubes that'll replace this thing with a little bit of modification, but like I said, they're all very scarce. Probably one of the most sought after picture tubes out there. So I'm not going to deal with all that. So I'm going to pull the chassis out. I worked on one of these in 2009. It's not a hard thing to get this chassis out, and then we can drop that board down and work on it. So I've got the local evening news on while I'm eating dinner, and they're covering the fact that Trump is having a rally out in Coachella here in California. And the anchor's talking about whatever and interviewing people, and it's in between speakers, you know, at the podium, and the DJ is blaring the Donna Summer song, Hot Stuff. And I'm sort of smiling and giggling to myself, thinking, you have no clue. You have no clue what that song is about. And I think the hilarious part is that his opponent would know exactly what it is, and she would be absolutely cackling and laughing her ass off. I got the chassis out, I got the parts, so the first thing I need to do is hinge this board up and change. I'm going to do this couplet right here, and I'm going to do all of these Bumblebee, Black Beauty, whatever these things are. They're all leaky and shorted. First thing, I need to take a bunch of pictures, but I can pretty much, I think, hinge this board. I did on the other one. I'm going to just do a little quick scan here with the camera to document where things are connected. So we got, yeah, a lot of these we can just slide them off. But I really want to leave all the stuff on the bottom here. So we'll just try and take the minimum loose. And you can just get a pair of dikes under these and slide them up. Just, you don't have to unwrap them, just slide them right off. Okay, took me about an hour, but I got it here to where I can service it. These things are just not easy to work on. I'm going to change this capacitor, this capacitor, this capacitor. I changed that one, I just need to solder it. These don't have any voltage across them, I don't think. And this capacitor, and the couplet. That's it. I changed these 3 capacitors, and I've been testing them. And the worst one is this 3900. This didn't even resemble a capacitor. It is so shorted and so leaky. And that is the horizontal oscillator capacitor. It's in, there's the new one right there. It's in parallel with this coil. I think we should measure this on the ohm meter. This one was not as bad. This is the vertical feedback. Well, we know that one was bad. I just got that one soldered in, and then that one I replaced. Someone donated these capacitors, which is awesome. 047, that's a very common value. So I got to do this one. I've been checking a lot of the resistors. Let's check the resistance of this thing. Let's see how many ohms this is, if I can do. 10 megs. But you measure that in the cap tester, it doesn't even measure as a capacitor. Not at all. And it's just totally shorted at 50 volts. So anyway, I've been checking these resistors, and they're all high. They're all 10 to 15% high. Like this. This should be 3.3K at 5%. It's 3.6. So it's outside of 5%. This should be 3.9K at 10%. Well, it's probably within that. This should be 820. Gray, red, yellow. 820K. It's measuring 1 meg. Here's another 3.9. Orange, white, red. Measuring 4K. Brown, green, red. 1.5K. It's measuring 1.6. So I think what I'm going to do is the couplet, this capacitor, these two over here are just in the antenna circuit. They don't matter. They don't have any voltage across them. I might do that 5% resistor. I've really learned that on a tube set, if it has a 5% resistor in it, it better be really close. That's bitten me more times. If it's a gold band resistor, you better make sure it's dead on in a tube set. Here's something I found that should be in every one of those online recapicide. Recapping it will fix any and every problem with it groups. This is a decoder for these bumblebee crappy capacitors. So, I mean, and I just read them like resistors, but you have brown, green, red, black. So brown, green, red. So you just read that like a resistor, 1500. And then black is 20% tolerance. And then we got brown, black for the voltage. So brown, black is 1000. 1000. So I replaced it with a 152 at 1.25 kilovolts. Should we decode this one? This is the one that was really bad. See, orange, white. I just automatically know that white is 9. White. Red. So you go 3900. And then our tolerance is white, which is 10%. And then our voltage is red. So 200. So you're supposed to put this one, since it doesn't have 2 bands, you put it on nothing. And then you put this on Red. Red, 200. Now look at this. Not a failure in a million. What kind of advertising crap is that? Yeah. So there you go. A recapper's best friend. You should just learn the color codes, memorize the color codes the first thing. Sit down and learn it. I mean, I was beaten into me at a very young age, so it's like another language to me. So yeah, just learn your color codes to start. So if we look at that one, orange, orange, orange is 333. So that's a 0.033. Black would be 20%, 200 volt. So that's a 0.033 microfarad, 20%, 200 volt capacitor. I got the couplet done. Here's the original one. You can see it's got four devices in it. And I measured them. They're all out of tolerance. They're all off spec. And there's the replacement for it right there. It's not pretty, but it's all 1%. Let the recapping recommence. So I'm going to do the rest of these and then some on the back. I did want to mention that those little resistors right there, those are half watt now. The half watt, the new half watt resistors look like the quarter watt resistors that used to be. So those are not quarter watt resistors. Those are half watt metal film 1% resistors. So we got most of the capacitors here. I think I am going to change that one. I don't need to change that one because it's not going to be used. It's part of the local DX circuit. I'm going to change that one and I'll test them. Well, I'm going to just end up pretty much recapping all the wax capacitors and the bumblebees because it's real hit and miss which ones are bad and which ones are good here. I didn't want to redo the whole thing, but I think I'm just going to end up doing it. I need to pick up a few more. I need a couple more 033s, 047s, and then this will be done. I need an 068. So, yeah, I mean, it's hit and miss. They're either good, as in perfect, or they're shorted, and they don't read anything. There's no like in between, like they're kind of lossy and leaky. They're either shorted or they're perfect. The recap of all the paper and paper and paper and black beauty paper and ceramic tubular paper has been complete, and I'll just take a moment and show the internet these, and hopefully the internet can smile. Shall we have a moment of silence for the internet and old capacitors? Anyway, this pot is bad, and this pot is 1,000 ohms, and this is, I think, the vertical height or linearity, and I'll show you what it's doing. So I got it all the way. So I'm going to start turning it up here, and it's a 1,000 ohm pot. So I'm turning it up very slowly. And you can see there it instantly goes from 98 ohms to 98 to 100 ohms. And then I go just a fraction more, and it goes to 170K, 180K, 190K. So this pot is bad, and then it goes to 1.9 megs. So this whole section right here is just completely dead. So I'm going to need to replace that, and I'm probably just going to put one on the back. I already tried cleaning these. It didn't help. It's just the little carbon thingy in there is cracked. this is the pot right there, 1,000 ohm vertical linearity. So 34 milliamps. I need to figure out what the wattage of that is. Probably a half or 1 watt. So this is the DigiKey Ohm's Law calculator, and I like this one the best. So I put in the current, which is 0.035. That should be 35 milliamps, right? And the resistance 1,000 ohms. Power is 1.225 watts. So we need probably a 2-watt pot here, just for safety. I want to pull this plastic off of here and clean the face of the CRT and maybe clean the plastic on the inside. Some of these will get like foggy, like modern headlights on a car, and that'll kind of dim the thing down and make it blurry. So we need every ounce of brightness and clarity we can get out of this. So I'm going to pull this plastic off. Well, the plastic is definitely not cloudy or degraded at all. It's a little bit dusty, and so is the face of the CRT, but this will just clean up with a microfiber towel and some Windex. That right there is where I just wiped it a little bit, and right there. So, and it doesn't smell at all. So the face of this thing's in great shape. So we'll just clean this up and put it back together. I got this all cleaned up. I got the lens all cleaned up. It's about 10 shades lighter now. Hopefully this will help make up for the weak cathode. Well, that was not easy to get apart and not easy to get back together. I would recommend not doing that unless you had to. There's a spring that holds this strap on. It's just not well designed for easy serviceability. Really not easy to take apart and put back together. I mean, no TV is, but this is, especially, I guess there's a lot of space, but there's a lot to it. So about an hour to take it apart and put it back together. I'm going to need to get to the back of that pot that's bad and tack some resistors on there when we find out what resistors we need. I'm going to plug it in. We'll see if it works. Well, that thermistor seemed to do a nice job of bringing the tubes up slowly. I didn't see any of them flare out. So that seems like a good choice. It just seems kind of small to me. It seems like the 3.5 amp one might be better. But if this is what the pros are using, I'm totally into that. I did clean the tuner. I cleaned all the pots. Oh, we got a nice bright line now. Let's turn that off. That's probably due to that pot being open. Well, even though it's dim, it looks a lot better, and I see static there, but I don't hear static in the audio. I wonder if this tube is bad here, because it is so microphonic. Yeah, I don't hear any hiss in the audio. God, I hope it's not something wrong with the board. I replaced the little light bulb there. You could tell the one that was in there had a absolute ton of hours on it. So I think we're pretty good here. I'm going to wait until it gets dark and we'll do a setup on this and watch some TV. I'm going to try and locate that, what is it, a 4BN6? I should have those around here. My scary part is trying to get it out of the socket without breaking the socket. I intentionally didn't remove any of those tubes except the vertical one. Okay, Philco Predicta Barber Pole test run. I put the camera in the lowest resolution mode that it has because the resolution of that is very low. So I'm trying to save space. For this pot that's open, I'm using this to substitute. This is 2500 ohm at probably 100 watts or something. So I'm going to use this, and we're going to set up the vertical. Then what I'll do is I'll replace that resistor with just some fixed resistors on the back for now. Again, I'm not going to try and screw with that double stack pot when the CRT is dead in this set. So we'll get it pretty damn close and then put fixed resistors. It'll be good. So this is for that. On the back of this, I think we have horizontal frequency range, we have vertical linearity and vertical height. We have to adjust, we have to figure out what's wrong with the sound. To start, I'm going to be using the VG91. I don't know if it's dark enough out here yet to do a setup on it. Let me see. Okay, this is NTSC widescreen versus 4x3. This is 4x3. This is widescreen here. So let's see what happens here. Is it actually... I got the VG91 hooked up. Why do we just have static? I'm on channel 3. Let me try channel 4. Why do we have no... Zoom in a little bit on that. That's moving the RF amp tube. That's moving the... I cleaned this tuner. Oh. I see the problem. I didn't connect... I'll show you. I'll take you with me. We'll be friends together. I didn't plug these back onto here. I bet that makes a difference. Sort of. And the horizontal's way off. Let's come down on the voltage a little bit, the RF voltage. Oh, oh. Look at that. There it is. There it is. Look at that. No audio though. Turn the fine tuning. It almost looks like it has filter hum in it, but well, there it just went away. I was going to say, I checked all the filters. They were all good. The ESR was good on all of them. RF down, RF up. No audio, though. Oh, there we go. So that's turning the fine tuning. So the sound God, I hope there's not silver mica disease in that can. The sound in the picture, the sound and the video are way off. Now let me adjust the vertical using the height and linearity. Okay, this is adjusting the big one. Okay, so we actually don't even need this because it's turned all the way up anyway. So it's just in the shorted range, so who cares? Okay, I'm pretty happy with this considering how soft the CRT is. So I think I got the fine tuning adjusted about where I want it. Let's see if we could bring this audio in. And I'm not super familiar with these, but I figure if we just start turning things. Good chance that can is starting to suffer silver migration if it has internal caps. Man, it really feels like the IF alignment's way off in it. I think we need to hook it up to the converter box and try and adjust it. It's not great, but that tube, it's a 3BN6, and I did find a replacement, but I'm not going to screw with that. Let's see if it has static now. Yeah. And look at that. Okay, this is a digital television to analog converter box. Always have to show this because I always get a message or a comment. How are you getting TV on that old thing? How is this fake? This is a fake video. You burned that in afterwards. No. This converts the digital data that are coming in through these rabbit ears to analog data that the TV can use. So we're going to try and find something here that is not copyright. So anything like the NFL or movies or anything like that good is going to be flagged. So I'm going to try and find something here that we can focus on dialing the TV. Like this. Wow, that's horrible. That will be copyright. So that's what a bad CRT looks like. Here we go. Pfizer commercials for Paxlovid. This
prevent COVID-19. My symptoms are mild now, but I'm not risking it.
Wow.
Paxlovid. Paxlovid must be taken within the first 5 days of symptoms and help stop the virus from multiplying in your body.
Taking Paxlovid with certain medicines can lead to serious or life-threatening side effects or affect how it or other medicines work, including hormonal birth control. It's critical to tell your doctor about all the medicines you take because certain tests or changes in their dosage may be needed. Tell your doctor if you have kidney or liver problems, HIV-1, are or plan to become pregnant or breastfeed. Don't take Paxlovid if you're allergic to nirmatrelvir, ritonavir, or any of its ingredients. Serious side effects can include allergic reactions, some severe, like anaphylaxis, and liver problems. These are not all the possible side effects, so talk to your doctor.
If it's COVID, Paxlovid.
I love my liver problems caused by my COVID medication.
Put it in your wallet. If you need generic Viagra, you need to take advantage of this program. Over 40,000 men across the U.S. have already signed up. Right now, Friday Plans is offering a special deal for new customers. $10 off your first package. The prescription is free and the shipping is free.
Do you think this country might have a problem with medication dependency? You think we might be headed towards a little bit of being over-medicated?
Was drowning in debt.
I didn't even know how I was going to buy food for my kids.
I had over $36,000 in debt. If I would have just made the minimum payments, it would have taken me 59 years to pay off.
Socks in the history of feet. Slippers you'll float in, and underwear and tees that...
These things have the capacity to make a really good picture. I did fix all the sweep stuff, though. I mean, that's rock solid, but you just cannot get around the weak CRT. Look at that garbage. Here's something in full 4x3. This looks impressive. Let's look at this for a minute.
Thiếu quần áo che thân, phải chết lạnh lẽo như này. Giúp cho họ may mặc, đem những sợi chỉ này dệt thành quần áo. Vì thế mà nàng chết đi, hóa thành con tằm. Vị thần núi đem mọi việc tâu lại với vua trời. Vua trời giận dữ, bắt vị thần giam ở tầng đáy biển sâu và tăm tối. Để thực hiện lời nguyện ước của cô gái, vị thần núi mang hồn nàng và đống chỉ tơ đến dâng ở ngọn cây dâu trong vườn Thượng Uyển. Khi hoàng hậu đi dạo ngang qua, hồn nàng tơ nhả ra các sợi tơ vàng óng ánh tung bay cho gió mơn man. Hoàng hậu ngạc nhiên hứng lấy, thấy chỉ tơ đẹp ánh vàng mềm dịu. Hoàng hậu bứt thử mới hay là sợi tơ trông mong manh nhưng mà dẻo chắc lạ thường. Hoàng hậu ước mong được mặc một chiếc áo dệt bằng những sợi tơ vàng đẹp ấy. Nhà vua bèn áo lụa mới làm tăng thêm bội phần nhan sắc của người mặc. Nhà vua rất vui lòng cho phép mọi người trong nước được nuôi tằm để dùng sợi tơ dệt thành vải để may áo quần. Từ đó, nghề trồng dâu nuôi tằm bắt đầu nảy nở, đáp lại nguyện vọng thiết tha của cô gái quê mùa tên là Tơ. Các em thanh thiếu nhi thân mến, qua câu chuyện này chúng ta có thể thấy rằng mặc dù cô Tơ bị người khác bức hiếp, nhưng cô vẫn giữ tấm lòng nhân hậu. Thậm chí khi chết đi, cô vẫn nghĩ đến những người nghèo khổ đói lạnh và nguyện hóa thân làm những sợi tơ dệt thành vải, giúp người khác được có áo quần để mặc cho ấm áp. Các em biết không, trong cuộc đời mỗi người, chúng ta luôn luôn phải có những lựa chọn cho cách sống của mình. Trong cùng một hoàn cảnh bị cuộc sống xô đẩy, vùi dập, mà một người đã sống theo cách thiện lành, còn người kia lại sống theo cách ác độc. Sự lựa chọn ấy, ngoài phước duyên đời trước, thì còn là nỗ lực hiện tại của chính chúng ta. Đức Phật cũng từng dạy, nếu chúng ta chọn cách sống hiền lương, thì sẽ có người giúp đỡ mình, và kiếp sau sẽ sinh vào những cõi lành. Sống hiền lương có nghĩa là làm theo 5 giới cấm của người Phật tử và biết quan tâm giúp đỡ người xung quanh. Mỗi khi có ai phát
Police department lại nữa là với rất nhiều chị của county và của những nhà buôn bán ở thành phố San Jose.
This is not loud enough.
Tên của em là Thảo Duy Chưa. Thảo, em từ đâu đến? Em đến từ Auckland. Lần đầu tiên em tới đây hay sao? Chứ không phải, cái này là chỉ lần đầu tiên em tới cái festival này thôi. Em có tham gia service organization really help out community. Đó là em cũng chưa biết á, mà em muốn cái tương lai của em á là giúp những người Việt Nam ở trong cái community của em. Cảm ơn em rất là nhiều. Cảm ơn chị. Cô chào con có tên gì? Dạ, tên chị Con. Dạ, cảm ơn con đi chơi một ngày cộng đồng con thấy.
That's a new cat. God, I hope it wasn't worried about it, that it was going to be eaten or something. I've not seen that cat before. Okay, what is this?
And on the day that child was born.
This is what you call a low-budget music video. And the camera is going in and out of focus because it's so dim. God, this is like someone with their phone at the playground music video. Let's get some more of this good content.
Topper by Dormeo is now the #1 mattress topper sold on television.
Dormeo.
Mattress toppers are just slabs of foam. You sink in, feel stuck, and the foam traps heat, creating hot spots. Metal spring mattresses are even worse. The springs create pressure points.
But what if I like hot spots?
Are what force you to toss and turn it.
Okay, well, I'm done with this. You know, without a new CRT, it's not worth putting much more effort into. And like I said at the beginning of this, these CRTs are very sought after. They're probably one of the most sought after CRTs out there. This 21-inch that'll fit in here, and I'm not going to hunt this down, and I think the owner is going to be happy with this. Yeah, it's just something you turn on and show your friends, and I guess you got to say, well, it could be a lot better, because it really could be. These things do have a good picture with a strong tube and fully restored. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, somebody that wasn't hip to what quality picture an old set like this could actually produce would probably think this is amazing. So we're going to let it go right here. It's stable. The sync is stable. The picture is stable. Vertical and horizontal lock are stable and solid. It's a little bit stretched, but that could be the box. I might have the box in stretch mode, and I don't know where the remote is right now. The audio is strong. I think we're good here. I'm going to call it quits and wrap this video up and get this back to its owner. Ooh.
Than standard foam. The Dormeo topper is placed right over your existing mattress, so it's easy to upgrade to luxury and comfort. It's only 3 inches thick, so most sheets fit right over it, and the cover is washable. The Dormeo topper is available in all standard sizes from twin to California King, and even RV sizes, so you can take a great night's sleep with you in your RV, on a boat, or when staying as a guest at a friend's house. And we have a brand new size, the first of its kind, the Split Head King, for adjustable beds, the first and only split head topper in America. Dormeo delivers premium customer service from the moment you order
From India.
delivery. The Dormeo topper delivers such an extraordinary.
All right, I'm done.
The online social media